Hi, everyone.
Hi, we're in Search of Christian Freedom, page 410, talking about how Jehovah's Witnesses are isolated from their fellow human beings. In the case of Jehovah's Witnesses, there is no physical isolation like that employed by some religious movements, as is also done by officials who take persons as political prisoners for indoctrination. Yet there is isolation of a very definite kind. The organization takes the biblical exhortation not to be part of the world and applies this as meaning that Jehovah's Witnesses should restrict to the minimum their association with anyone not of their faith, which in the final analysis means anyone not embracing the current teachings of the organization. Such persons are not in the truth, which is the same as saying that they are all in the lie. All non-witnesses, no matter how fine their personal qualities, no matter how high their standards, no matter how deep their faith in God, Christ, and the Bible may be, are worldly. Social contact is acceptable if it is done with a view to creating an opportunity to witness to the worldly persons. It is discouraged on any other basis.
A witness may, in conversation with a worldly neighbor or fellow employee or business associate, steer discussion into religious topics. But, as I know from experience, the thought is always how to give the person a witness. There is concern that the direction of the conversation will be one way, and one way only. It is not to see if the witness might learn something from the other person, or to have any genuine interchange of thoughts and ideas. After all, that would be useless, since the other person is not in the truth. When the person conversed with proves not inclined to agree with the witness presented, whether a teaching such as the significance of 1914 or any other topic, the witness generally feels that the conversation is unproductive and may as well stop. A mental barrier is raised toward any remarks heard that do not conform to the current teachings of the organization. Evidence that might disprove any of those teachings usually causes the witness to respond in a programmed way, to quickly shut the door of his mind in that evidence, or to that evidence.
Similarly, with reading material, while the Watchtower Society's publications quote frequently, at times liberally, from all sorts of worldly publications, including sociological, psychological, and religious works, the feeling is generated that only the organization can safely do this, and that particularly as regards religious publications, including Bible commentaries, it is dangerous for the average witness to read such sources of information. Not merely caution, but distrust and aversion are engendered. Evidently, the faith developed by the organization is not viewed as sufficiently robust to resist the effects of such reading.
Again, in this area, one finds two separate messages offered in the Watchtower publications, one directed to those outside the organization, the opposite toward those within it. Those outside are urged to question their religious beliefs, no matter how long they have held them. Articles titled, "An Open or a Closed Mind, Which Do You Have?" and another one called, "An Open Mind Wins God's Approval," appeared in the November 22, 1984 Awake, and another titled, "Are You Open to New Ideas?" in the January 15, 1989 Watchtower. These are all directed entirely to non-witnesses. The first article, on page 3, gives a definition of prejudice as, quote, "a judgment or opinion, favorable or unfavorable, formed beforehand or without due examination, a mental decision based on other grounds than reason or justice, especially a premature or adversely biased opinion." End of quote.
Recognizing that decisions made without due examination or judgments reached on other grounds than reason or justice are evidences of a closed mind, the article advocates an open mind, which is receptive to new information and ideas, and willing to examine and evaluate information without a biased attitude. Farther along it states, quote, "A closed mind may indicate lack of knowledge. We may know so little about a subject or have information so distorted or incomplete that the facts necessary to reach proper conclusions are missing. A closed mind may betray a lack of interest in the subject or a reluctance to look into the matter. In fact, it could be a sign of uncertainty or doubt. For example, if we are unable to defend our religious views, we may find ourselves lashing out against those who challenge our beliefs, not with logical arguments, but with slurs and innuendos. This smacks of prejudice and of a closed mind. Even some religious people have closed minds. They are interested only in their religion, showing no willingness to as much as listen to the views of others. What makes religion a religion right is its total adherence to God's Word. Whether our religion meets this criterion or not can only be determined by open-mindedly comparing it with the Bible." That's the end of the quote.
It seems incredible, yes it does, that the organization's writers cannot see the obvious inconsistency between these exhortations to open-mindedness given to outsiders and the exact opposite admonition given to those within the organization. A question from the readers in the May 1st, 1984 Watchtower on page 31 argues that it is right that Jehovah's Witnesses, going to people's doors, offering them Watchtower literature, should refuse to accept religious literature the householders visited may in turn offer them. Among other things, it states, quote, "Witnesses do not go to people's doors searching for truth or enlightenment. Rather, they already have devoted countless hours learning the truth from God's Word. Jehovah's Witnesses are not ignorant of others' beliefs. They have gained considerable basic knowledge of the doctrinal beliefs of religions common in their area. So it would be foolhardy, as well as a waste of valuable time, for Jehovah's Witnesses to accept and expose themselves to false religious literature that is designed to deceive." As I know, I just find it hard to read this. Designed to deceive. Jeez. As loyal Christians, let us hold to God's standards, feeding our minds on what is true and righteous, and holding appreciatively and loyally to the channel from which we first learned Bible truth. Yeah, that's hard to read. It's such just they're doing exactly what they said that you shouldn't do.
Yeah, designed to deceive. So they've just said on the previous page, slurs and innuendos are the method of the person who can't apply logic or scriptural argument, right?
Yeah. And deciding beforehand that the person is wrong.
But these aren't just slurs and innuendos.
Yeah.
They're actually slanders.
Yeah.
You know the heart of the person who wrote the book that you're not allowed to read.
Yeah.
So that's why you can't read it, because it's designed to deceive the unwitting.
And how much time have you personally spent in reading anybody else's literature? If you feel you can only learn about other religions through the religion you're following, you're going to be in trouble. You're setting yourself up for control.
And I would have to say that though there is a critical spirit alive and well in many churches outside of the cults, yet there's still a generosity and a giving of the benefit of the doubt. Even if they disagree strongly on this or that doctrine, they'll still allow for the fact that God could still be working through the other person. Not so in the cults. And that's what separates cultic mindsets from actual cults. So we're going to set up on your screen to connect to a couple of videos we did a while back. One from the wonderful Christian apologist who's still with us, Os Guinness, Fit Bodies, Fat Minds. How's that for a title? Fit Bodies, Fat Minds, Os Guinness, and also Richard Hofstadter, who was famous back in the 40s and 50s, one of the best writers on America's social and educational history. His book on anti-intellectualism in American life. That's Richard Hofstadter. So put those on the screen. And next time, getting closer to the question of, do the Jehovah's Witnesses exhibit an open mind?